this idea of the grind, how it's glamorized, and how people, on social media glamorize the grind. And really, the end goal of the grind is a net zero sum game. They don't really want you to win. They just want you to stay in the grind. Like, look how hard I'm working. Look how hard I'm working. Look how hard I'm working. My life sucks, but look how hard I'm working. The people who really make it, they talk about how hard they worked, but generally when they're coming up, they're not posting every day about how hard it is.
Right.
Because they're focused on developing themselves. They're not focused on showing how hard it is. So how do we get people a real look at what it takes to be successful?
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Life Insurance Academy podcast. We are rocking it out with Senior, speaking a new language today, Roger Short, and my hip-hop counterpart, Zach McElwain, when we do our breakdancing tours. Good to see you, buddy. And I can now because I do have a new wheel.
You got a new wheel?
I do have a new wheel. I am back. I am. It's a little squeaky.
You got a bionic knee?
Like when I bend it, it goes... No, it's
you take a bath in WD-40?
I do, yes.
Like the Tin Man.
Yeah. We got some good stuff for you guys. We are excited to join you today, and we are talking about the question that gets asked a lot. I mean, sometimes people just even walk up to me and ask this question. Is it hard to sell life insurance? Is it? Is it difficult? Is it challenging? Can I do it? Zach, do you think I can do it? Do you think I can do it? So that's you
guys both were scared of it when you first got pitched.
Dude, I knew it
you
was.
You both were like,
Roger, I knew it was going to be a piece of cake.
Right.
I knew it was.
Right. So many people get pitched.
I said candy.
To sell life insurance or buy life insurance.
Right. They do.
Right? Mm-hmm. Is it overdone? Is it undersold? Is it oversold? What's the opportunity?
Right, that's a good question.
Are we bombarding potential clients, and are we overselling the opportunity to potential agents?
Yeah.
What's the truth?
Yeah, that's the question. And I guess one good answer to just sum it all up, if we want to wrap up the podcast, we have more people on the planet than we've ever had.
This is true.
See you guys. That's it. So tons of opportunity. All those people need insurance. That's my point.
Perfect.
So that is the question. What say you? What say you, Zach, about this? The challenges of this. Is it hard to sell life insurance?
Well, I think Roger's got a point there. I think there's not enough people that. There's different types of personalities, right? There's different people. There's some people are more realistic personalities. Some people are more. I don't know a word for it. Fluffy?
Dreamers.
Fluffy.
Let's call them dreamers.
Fluffy.
Yeah, clouds, right? That's clouds. Clouds are fluffy.
Fluffy.
But when it comes down to it, you're pitched an opportunity, and the human nature thing that I always believe in, which I'm more of the realistic person, I'm very level, you're always skeptical about what someone is adamant about you doing. Always. And when somebody gets overly excited about this opportunity, enjoying it, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think it's naturally, for me personally, it's gonna cause some curiosity in the fact of, okay, what's really going on, what's really behind the curtain.
You don't feel like you're getting the full story.
You don't feel like you're getting the full story. Like, why do they want me to do this so bad?
Is it because people are scammed too much?
I think it could be. I think a part of it, I don't think there's enough time, or the person on the receiving end of the pitch, if you will, I don't think there's enough time to develop a relationship or to understand the industry in its entirety.
I still don't.
Understand its entirety.
Zach wants to understand it in its entirety before he makes a decision whether he wants to do it.
P&L
Let me write my thesis on this first, and then once I'm complete, then I will decide whether I will sell a policy.
He did it, and he did it. He rocked it out.
That's exactly.
I did it, and he did it.
I did
He's
it.
still writing his thesis, though. We're still producing content.
It's working, though. It's working. But that's the truth, though. Yes. I mean, there's so many people like me out there that view it that way, but it's always, boom, here's the greatest, here's the highest probability of success. This is what you'll have. This is what you'll see. This is the
I know
the
this
fruit
guy, and
that
he has a
you'll
plane,
have.
and
Yeah.
he buys islands, according to Adam.
Yeah, there's truth to that though. So that there's an expectation, there's reality. A lot of people, especially when you're in a manager role, when you're trying to grow a team, a lot of those tend to be people that are young in this industry or new into it. They're always preached to go to sell, to build a team, and do all of that, and that can be difficult. It could be difficult for somebody to get attached to, because this idea between expectations and reality, they're shown you're able to make X amount of dollars. You're able to have X amount of free time. You're able to win or be a part of these worldly trips, which is all true to a degree.
Yeah. When you say worldly
Worldly
like
trips.
Sinners or like
Sinners and
around
saints,
the world,
they're very
like
worldly.
traveling the world.
Yeah,
Like
around
the
the world.
attractiveness of being a
You
traveler.
can see the world.
Yeah.
You can see the world. You
You know,
don't have
it
to
is
pay for
kind of
trips.
interesting as we're sitting here having this conversation. You did share the opportunity with both of us, and we are both very different personalities.
Yes.
You know, and like looking at it from my perspective, it was there was some attraction to it. Zach, I think you went in thinking there was no question you were going to make six figures in your mind, right? You knew you were going to one way or another.
No.
You didn't? That's surprising to me. See,
I
I
didn't-
assumed you knew
I didn't.
you would.
Well,
He knew it in its entirety
No, not in life insurance. I'm talking about six figures. Like
in life.
in life, you were going to make.
that wasn't the
a high
attractive
level.
point for me. That wasn't the
No,
thing
but
for me.
you knew you would.
To be honest, I didn't believe anything Roger said. I didn't. I mean, just straight fact. I'm being honest. I didn't believe
Didn't believe
anything he
anything he
said.
I do not understand that. Okay.
Because I'm not that type of person.
Yeah.
I'm a hands-on. I'm a do it. I don't take other
But that
people's
could have been-
words
that
and
could have
make
been
them my
anybody,
reality.
Not just Roger. It could have been.
It would have
anybody.
been anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
see.
I think I
When it
remember.
comes to an entrepreneurial opportunity and what
Anybody
somebody
presenting
says
an
to you.
opportunity that sounds good, you're going to be skeptical because that's your nature.
my nature is to figure out how things work.
That's called skepticism.
And I'm a very
Analytical
much
skepticism.
but I'm also a very much of a realist, right?
That's what an analyst would say,
Yeah.
that they're real.
But yeah, so I look at real numbers, real time, real work that it takes. But I think this is the biggest issue of this whole conversation.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody's like me. In fact, I think more people's that are in this industry are not like me than like me. And they take all of that. They can believe that initially, but there's never the understanding of what it takes to get there. And that's the whole idea of this podcast is the truth about the grind. And if we can make more agents aware of what it takes going into this, or if they're in this journey right now, it will really help them to make that reality. Because the flip side of that is nothing that you told me wasn't untrue. It's not like it's impossible. There's plenty of people that have achieved all of these levels, but there's certain things that you have to do in order to get there. And I think so many agents, they hit this period, and it depends on where it is, depends on the amount of it, how the length of time you've been in this industry already. But I would say it probably starts around the 6-month period to probably a year to year and a half is where you start to think about what does it actually take? Is it everything I thought it was? Is the ceiling really that high? And if you don't understand or don't have a good mentor, or don't have a good community or coaches, or you're not a part of something like the Life Insurance Academy that helps and is real with you guys, then a lot of you guys can get discouraged. You can think about the opportunity of this industry and everything that was shared with you as a potential negative, which is by far not true. And then you can decide to look in a different route or have a certain opinion when we believe, when we are all here today, that every single one of you guys can change your lives and change other people's lives in this industry. We just want to show you what you really got to do to get there.
That makes sense.
There was an article written on LinkedIn. I'm not going to quote the author or anything because I don't want to slam anybody, but it was talking about the truth about the grind. You just called it the truth about the grind. And his take on it was the hard truths. Okay. The hard truth about the grind. And he talks about how the grind culture is not what you think it is. And he kind of downplays, some of the elements that we're going to talk about that I think it takes to be successful, because I do think people are sold a pipe dream in many instances, especially in the scalable MLM type models of our insurance space. And a lot of recruiting happens in those areas. It's recruit first, opportunity meetings, training is almost secondary, like sales training and how to be profitable is secondary to recruiting, growing. The emphasis is on who are you bringing in? Have you made your family list? Or
Yes.
who are you talking to about, cash value whole life insurance or term insurance, whatever the niche is that they're pitching. But it's like they're either a client or they're a prospect. Everybody in the world becomes a client and a prospect, and it's 100% on all the time. And that's kind of the focus. And that, to me, is setting up that pipe dream of they don't really understand what it takes to be successful. Mm-hmm. And we see a lot of those people reaching out to us on the podcast, and our listeners can probably resonate with that and think, that's me. That's me. I was brought into an organization like that. I don't feel like I'm getting the right training. And the hustle emphasis is on recruiting, not on skilling up, not on becoming a communications expert, not on understanding human behavior, not on how to understand positive persuasion, moving people to a better place, like really helping people meet their biggest needs. But this guy talks about how this idea of the grind is how it's glamorized, and how people, on social media glamorize the grind. And really, the end goal of the grind is a net zero sum game. They don't really want you to win. They just want you to stay in the grind. The grind culture just kind of wants to keep people in the grind. Like, look how hard I'm working. Look how hard I'm working. Look how hard I'm working. My life sucks, but look how hard I'm working. And the people who really make it, they talk about how hard they worked, but generally when they're coming up, they're not posting every day about how hard it is.
Right.
Because they're focused on developing themselves. They're not focused on showing how hard it is. But the question is it hard? Is it difficult? Is it this pipe dream that people are sold? Like, you can make $200,000 in your first year, and all you need to do is this, this, and this, and it's so easy, and everybody's doing it. Get in now, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't think you would have got in that business deal under that culture, under that guise, because just a few little analytics, that you would have applied to that, you'd be like, I'm out. So how do we get people a real look at what it takes to be successful?
Yeah, there's a few things here. And I think the first and foremost is understanding that the difference between a pipe dream and a goal or a vision for your life is belief. That's the number one thing. And I think this conversation has to start there, because there's different people with different levels of belief. When I was coming on, I know by some guy that was showing me the plan, there was I'll tell you the parts that were most attractive to me was being able to get paid what I'm worth was the number one thing for me. I was working 3 different jobs, paying all my college before I graduated, just trying to do everything I can to make ends meet. My income was tapped out. If I had to save for something, I knew how many weeks I had to save for it, because it didn't matter what I did. This is what I was making. Yeah. That was the biggest, most attractive piece for me. Yes, I saw, vacations. I saw lifestyle. I saw income. I was communicated very high income potentials. I blocked all of that out. It didn't matter to me. To your answer, Chris, it wasn't a 6-figure thing immediately for me. When I came on, there was nobody young. Nobody. Yeah. I think you and another guy were the youngest guys.
Which is pretty young.
Which is pretty young.
Which is
not young.
pretty
How old were you when you started?
Oh, it was 13 years ago, so I was in my 20s.
You were.
How old were you when you started?
30, 39, 38.
38.
38. I think it was 38.
You were 38, which was 13 years ago. Do the math.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
No.
Chris and math. I love you, man.
Golly.
49.
Former
As of
accountant.
this episode. As of this episode.
As of this episode.
There was nobody in their 20s.
Yeah.
Nobody. And nobody in their young 30s. We're looking at serving clients that are all above 60s, and up. So that was a thing for me, but I knew I could outwork anybody. I knew I could work hard. I knew I could make something. My goal, Chris, first year was to learn everything I needed to learn, to build upon myself, to learn the communication, to learn the industry. And in my mind, I was like, I don't even know how the money works. I didn't know what commissions were. I didn't know how you get paid, but I knew the work I would put in. And if I put that amount of effort instead of those 3 jobs into this, I would probably land around 80. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to go as high as I possibly could.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was my expectation, which is always low, right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But the belief side of that, like I didn't plan or want to go, like not that I didn't want to. I didn't plan to make any trips. Like I was in the grind mode. I need to learn. I need to figure this out if it's possible. I need to have that belief piece, because without that belief piece, it would all came crashing down and burning. And then 2 months later, I'm figuring out this. He lied to me. This is what it was, which you never lied to me. Like it is exactly what it is. But I need to find that belief in myself that I could do something. Chris,
I think something happened to you that actually changed your belief level. You went to an event with us, and so you were taking it from me. You were hearing information from me and the people that I had around me at the time. And then we went to a larger event, and there was other people speaking and talking, and you were looking around because you came back from there with like a different intention and a different level of enthusiasm and a different level of commitment after that event. Do you remember that happening?
which one was that? Was that in Atlanta or was that one in Bardstown?
It was one of the very first ones we went to when other people were being
Atlanta.
recognized
Yeah.
for success.
So for me,
It
belief.
might have been Atlanta.
I can't remember which one was first, but I know the belief is the memory of success. But you could temporarily borrow belief as well, but only for a certain amount of time. If you try to borrow somebody else's belief forever, it never becomes yours, and you just fumble. But when I see other people having success in this, that, no offense, that were more relative coming from my background, then it's like, okay, well, if
He's like, I don't care about this Chris guy. I need to see some more people that look and
anybody
sound
who's
like
not
me.
a middle-aged white guy.
Yeah.
Is there anybody? Please.
No, I was talking about less handsy, but no, but somebody coming out of college, right? Like you
that
guys,
makes sense.
You guys had full careers. You guys made good incomes. I'm coming out of college with 3 regular little jobs.
Knocking the
that I'm-
grass off your shoes.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes sense.
If your strings ain't green, you ain't working hard enough, right? But
It's got to say.
I wanted to make sure that I could do that, so I could borrow
strings.
belief from other people that I found relatable to me.
Yeah.
But then I had to figure it out for myself. I knew I had to do it.
So going to an event changed your belief level
Yes,
because you saw other people having success.
It affirmed it. It
Affirmed it, validated it.
validated
So
it's a
belief,
good word.
right?
Yeah,
What-
actually, I made a note here. Belief. It's like there's opportunity, self, and a relationship side of it. Like I was trusting, I guess, believing in what you were saying. I had to see it for myself. There was a belief in that, and then believing in myself that I could do it.
Some people don't know whether they believe in themselves or not. So how do they believe? How does someone listening going, I don't know if this is right for me. It's hard. It sounds hard.
I think
Can I believe it? Can I trust it?
I think at that point you have to believe in your support, and I think that's
Yes.
a huge part. And I think that's what's really lacking in this industry.
So get connected to a group that's successful.
Because if I believe what you say, and even if I don't really believe in myself, or if I'm not as good coming out the gate, and I've seen Chris, and I know you've seen, I've seen Chris firsthand bring people on his team when he was growing a team. That, in my opinion, were like, ooh, I'm not sure if they got what it takes, because it takes a special person to really make it. And they believed in his support and his mentorship so much that it willed them to be more successful than they would have been on their own, just because of the belief in that support.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would agree with that.
When you're talking about the truth, I guess that is a big part of that. Is the level of belief that you're walking into with this, and it's I guess a belief that is I'll speak to the opportunity part of it, that is with eyes wide open, understanding that there's going to be these pieces here, like it's going to take a lot of work. I mean, if you're in this opportunity, Roger, the thing that I know and I saw and we talked about all of this was in our presentation, you talked about something like chargebacks. Like that's part of the risk in this opportunity, but you told me the truth about it, that there's people who are going to be falling off of the books. But I've seen people who present numbers, like sometimes you see these ads of guys walking on the beach with their camera and the wind's blowing. How can I show you to make $500,000 in 3 months?
Yeah.
While he's walking down a beach, I was at your kitchen table
And I guarantee you that ads probably showed up on our video feed before on our YouTube channel.
And will now because I
It's
mentioned
probably
it.
going to be right there right now. Yeah.
So,
If you're not buying these leads, you're crazy.
yeah. But having this the eyes wide open of some of the things that you're going to face and the activity that's going to go into it.
Well, why don't we hit these other items real fast here and give people a reality check?
Yeah. So
Because that's what they want.
Absolutely.
They want to know. They want to know the truth.
here's the truth.
Let's hit 'em. Let's hit 'em.
So first of all, you have the belief, you know you're moving into this. You have this expectations that's in your mind elevated because you've never seen anything like that before. You've never experienced a job or a career that can provide this ceiling before. So there's some skepticism, but there's belief there because you see other people around you doing it. You see from your mentors, your support that it's there. The first truth about the grind that we're going to talk about is going to be the activity, the true activity. And I don't start measuring activity in my mind or when I talk about it until after your first 60 to 90 days, okay? Because that activity is generated off of adrenaline, is generated off excitement, it's generated off hitting a new initial award or incentive or recognition or being on a call, being a part of a new environment. That adrenaline you have is going to it's going to propel you through, which the great thing about that, it typically gives you a fast start. Most people, if you're in a good system, you're pretty much going to start really well and profitable your first month out.
Okay. Expectations versus reality.
Okay.
Most people are going to start off well.
In that first period,
Yeah.
I would say so.
Okay.
How many-
Agents,
how- okay.
100 agents come in.
Okay, let me ask you this.
98 of them make it.
Okay.
In that first.
Follow me. There, you had a
He's
bunch
talking
of
about their level of activity or their level of perceived effort. He's talking about their level of perceived effort, not the results. I don't think you're talking about the results.
well, it's a
yet.
combination, but it's false in my opinion. And here's why, Chris.
I
There's
don't
been,
even think half of them even get out of the gates properly.
okay
Right.
for the
They
people
stumble
that
before they even get
for
out of
the
the
people
freaking
that
gates.
get out of the gates and go out there and start activity.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, for the sake of this podcast, I
a
want to make
gap.
sure that we're saying that, though.
That's a gap.
We have seen so many people, Chris, so many people that we have trained together, that we have moved through, that came out, and you can almost name them. I know I can.
Let's
that
say one at
initial
the same
success?
time on the count of three.
that
One,
name people.
2. See if he does it. I wouldn't.
Yeah, okay. I don't believe you. See, that's that belief thing. But that have all have followed the system, found success, had the excitement. I mean, so many people have had good fast starts. We talk about this
I would
fast
agree.
start.
I agree with that.
That's exactly what
I
I'm
would
talking
agree
about.
that, but that's someone who's actually getting off to a fast start, and I think that's different than most of the people. It's different than most of the people. I don't even think half of those people make it to that fast start.
But I'm not counting those
Yes.
people.
There's no
People,
way.
people that don't even.
But we have to count them.
We'll be
They're
talking
part of
about-
the reality check.
We're talking about
That's my
activity.
point.
If you have
That's
if
exactly.
you have zero
This is
activity,
crazy.
you're not even in the race.
Yeah, but you're trying to get started, and we want to give them a reality check. Like you got to get real. That activity is required,
Yes, but
and the right activity is required.
correct. So
You might have some success. Then
disclosure,
what
guys.
happens?
If you want to talk about the proper activity to get started, please go back and listen to podcasts your first 30 days and your first 90
Bingo.
days. Those are
Boom.
great podcasts to talk about activity getting started. This, however, is a podcast about the expectations versus reality on the real grind. And what I was saying is This activity doesn't start until that initial excitement, that initial adrenaline is over. This is the real activity. This is after your first 90 days when you're like,
I see where you're coming from.
I didn't have the framework of after the first 90.
it was on there.
That was not
Adam,
said.
will you
Can
repeat
we
my
add
words
that?
at the beginning of this and
Can
play
we
it
add
back
that?
for them?
I see where you're going with it, though. I see where you're.
Yeah.
What's that?
You're not going to like it if you repeat it. You weren't walking down that trail originally.
I hope you find that,
It's
Adam.
okay.
I'm
It's
going to get
okay.
another video guy to put that in
Here,
there.
you
and
can
show
dub this in for
I'm
Zach.
with you, though.
You can
I
dub
see
this
what
in
you're
for Zach.
saying there.
I literally-
So, Adam, after the first 90 days,
The real.
the real check of
He winks at the
reality.
camera.
I don't start measuring activity in my mind or when I talk about it until after your first 60 to 90 days. It said
From there.
it
Let's go from
truly
there.
starts
good.
after the activity, after the adrenaline when everybody starts. So
Yeah.
this is the real activity. This is after you're getting out there. Because everybody wants here to have consistent high numbers. You're already, the newness of the new opportunity has worn off. But you want to be successful. You feel that you should already be a manager at some level. You feel that you should already.
He's gone on to people who want to be managers now.
But that's what people do.
Is this
though.
not reality?
I know.
Yeah. I
How
know
many
exactly
people
what
are-
you're talking about.
There is a group
How many
there is a
people-
group of people, as soon as they have some success,
He
then
thought
they
of
think,
them.
yeah.
That's why he almost
I
spit
need-
his water
I
out.
need
They're
30
rolling up in their Bentley.
I need 30% more comp. Why am I not a manager? How many agents are you giving me? What do you mean you're not giving me agents? Why am I even here?
Yes.
Do you forget who you were 90 days ago?
Here's the thing, though.
Literally.
What we talked about at the beginning is how many people are hired as an agent, or are they all hired as a potential growing manager?
I think I think the truth is in our business, there's a lot of people recruited just to sell. I think there's a selling environment, and then I think there's this MLM, everybody's a prospect to get in the business and become your next best agent environment.
Yes.
And I think the
Right.
majority of the people are in either this camp or this camp, and in the middle there's some crossover. But
Right. And I wouldn't have done it if it was just sales.
no,
have been
you wouldn't have
interested
done it if it was just sales. No, I wouldn't have either. Yeah, I would have wanted to know that I could grow, but I do know those people after 90
So
days.
you're saying, just so we're on the same page, that many times people have this newness, and that newness effect carries you. So that doesn't
Yes.
even count as activity.
Because it's
Right?
easy. It's
Because
easy to
at
do
that
it
point. Right.
because you're
Yeah.
motivated to
Podcast
get up
is
and do it.
evolving into
Well, this is
something
great. It's kind of
different.
fun, though. I'm kind of digging it. I hope you guys are.
This is the truth, man.
It is the truth. I agree with you. I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's the.
Because it's easy to get out of bed. It's
Yeah.
easy to make phone calls. It's easy to post your little video. I'm
really?
at it again, right? How many people do it? It's the consistency, right? It doesn't get hard until that 90 days is over, until that initial adrenaline is over. When there's somebody brand new that just got
And you
hired 2
started
weeks
getting a
ago,
charge back.
right, and you get your charge back. Somebody's hired 2 weeks ago. Now they're getting the clout, right? They're getting the excitement. Oh, this person just had this big first week. And you feel like
And you're like,
And now you're hitting
2
the wall.
weeks there in 2 weeks, and you're like, I was in sales once. It's a tough racket.
You don't even know anything. I've been doing this for 90 days.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So at this point, your activity, you have to be disciplined on it. It has to be whichever vertical in.
It's a shift to discipline
yes.
versus emotion and energy.
enthusiasm,
And
yeah.
enthusiasm. Yeah.
You're exactly right. You have to
What
have
else
your
we
You
got?
have
system.
to be aware of that, though. That's his
What
point.
else we got? I'm going to keep us moving.
Yeah, thank
The
you.
second thing is the investment, the financial side of investment. So many people, when you're riding high again, Chris, on that emotion, on that excitement, right, and that enthusiasm that comes with being new, comes with having your first sale and being recognized and moving up through. I tell you, I see so many people that start a campaign, preferably leads or marketing or social media or something, they start investing in to get prospects. And then once they start making a couple of sales, they shut it off. They stop it. Now they think that they can take these leads and opportunities
Right.
that they have, and all of a sudden they're going to be there forever. Like they just don't run out. Like these are you make a one-time investment and then all of a sudden you have leads for the rest of your life. So they stop their leads, they'll work them down, and then all of a sudden they're celebrating, they're spending their money not in the best ways. They're not taking in an account for pulling back that initial investment of leads to do something that none of these new agents have ever heard of, reinvest. To reinvest so you can have your pipeline to keep going, right? You don't buy a new car with one tank of gas. Like, you got to pay for the second tank, right? And so on.
I think the investment goes on 3 different levels. I don't think it's just financial. I think it's an emotional investment. I think it's a mental investment. And I think it's a financial investment. Because without those other pieces, without the emotional and mental investment, you can't get there financially. Mental is, I'm going to do this. And it's not, I'm going to try this, right? It's an I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah.
And this idea of the truth about the grind, it's not just hustle and being busy, right? I think a lot of people, when you hear the grind, and there's a group out there that will rail against this concept of celebrating the grind, and then there's other people out there, I'm in the grind, getting the grind, I'm getting my grind on.
I grind my own beans when I make my coffee.
But a lot of that is just busy work.
Right.
It's not actually revenue generating activity. And
a huge difference.
That grind is like, I'm going to grind, and then you don't hear from me anymore. Then my social media shuts off, and next thing I'm like on a beach somewhere else and taking a vacation because I needed a break.
You need to buy these.
Because I needed a break, right? And then you don't hear from anybody for 4 months or 6 months, and then they're doing something else. So the grind runs out pretty quick. But if you have a mental commitment, a mental investment, that success is going to take discipline, committed, hard work, consistent over time, and that you're going to have ups and downs, you can then strategize and make an emotional decision and have emotional intelligence so that when things are not going well, you keep investing for the return on that investment because you know you're developing. You said, my goal was to develop, become the best person I could be in the industry so I could serve, so I could be a great communicator, so I could understand how to bring value. And if your goal is to improve and it's not to profit right away, then that takes you through that. And then that gets you to that financial investment and reinvestment. So I think that investment level is on all 3 of those levels.
Absolutely. There's in addition to that, there's some weeks that you're going to break even monetary wise.
Yeah.
But the investment in that emotional side is huge.
Sometimes you may go upside down.
Right. Right. And that leads into these next 2 that I want to get to, because this all starts to bleed together so well. But you said it in that explanation, Roger, is commitment. When you have these things, you have to stay committed. You have to understand. You have to have the same commitment to when you jumped on, the same commitment you had after your first large week, the same commitment after you had that recognition, right? You felt like you were going to take over this industry. You were going to be there forever. You were going to be the next coming. You're just going to do it all.
You're
right?
going to be the next coming something.
Exactly. Something.
I was waiting for you to give that word there. You just stopped.
Well, you fill in the blank there. That's the beautiful thing. But it's the commitment. When you're in that moment and let's say you're on an interview with Roger Short, and Roger goes, well, what's your plans? What's your future look like? Blah, blah, you have a bright future. They're going to say, oh, I'm going to be in here forever. I'm committed to this. I'm going to master. I'm going to be the best that's ever done it. Fast forward, let's say 2 or 3 months later, where the grind actually takes place. Are you staying committed to the process on a good week or in a bad week? Mm-hmm. Are you staying committed to being the best you can at learning this niche or this vertical before you start hopping, skipping, and jumping around to everything, even out of the industry again? Mm-hmm. So that commitment is got to be there.
I think one of the other things there, and it may not be on your list, but it's in mine, is you got to get yourself in the right environment. Mm-hmm. So investment, commitment, environment. Environment is the people around you. Who are you listening to? Who are you following? Do you have people that you can connect with daily, weekly, to keep you accountable? And we've said this over and over and over again, right? Your environment determines your success, your outcome. I mean, it's like that in life. It's like that with kids. It's like that on successful ball teams versus ones that are failing. Your environment determines the outcome. So make sure you're in a good environment and get plugged into people who are winning at a high level. What's the last one you got?
The last one here, Chris, and I think you can speak to this very well, is patience. Is patience to truly understand that this is a marathon, this is not a sprint.
And I like that idea of patience. I think you have to come in with an attitude of being a learner, and that helps with that patience so that you can learn the process, master the process, be able to communicate it, and help other people develop in it. When we talk about those two kind of are very, very interconnected. When you talk about the commitment and the patience, it's hard to be patient for something if there isn't a commitment attached to it. Like I've had to learn to be patient with my kids, but I'm very committed to them. This is a lifelong commitment, and I have to learn. I've got this relationship with them, and I've got to be committed to them, right? And I've got to be patient with them, right? I'm happy to do it. I'm just saying I'm learning this patience thing, right? Learning this patience thing as a father. But I remember your journey in this on the front side, and you were very clear that you were giving this a year, and watching you on the beginning of those ebbs and flows. And it didn't matter what the production was ever. You were going to make sure that you kept your word on that commitment. And now, you never put a timeline on that. I don't know how patient you would have been.
Well, it creates uncertainty, and then it allows noise to come in your ear of check this out, or this person's doing successful there. It creates all kinds of
this could be easier.
distractions.
And some people are so prone to the minute something is not working well, they start looking for the escape hatch. They start looking for an easier way. And then they stop doing this vertical. And then they think, well, if I stay in the insurance, I'm not quitting on insurance, but I'm going to switch to this vertical. Well, that one's not working. I heard someone else is doing well over here. And they're chasing this shiny object syndrome. They're not patient in a specific direction in a vertical to get really good at it. They start hopping around. And they could have a massive success in one area, but because of the lack of patience, they blow themselves out of the business because they can't focus in one area long enough to get really good. And getting really good in one area of the business develops a massive level of confidence, which creates competence. And then there comes the success.
I'll give you guys an illustration of personally from this. And you said hop around, which is pretty funny, but the knee thing. It's going through rehab of this whole thing. I know lots of people have had their knees, and a lot of them have experienced this process of getting a replacement. And
by the way, Chris had his knee replaced about a month ago.
If you hadn't heard this, I think you guys had shared it last time.
I don't know if we got into detail, but you had a knee replacement
Yes, I had
from an injury from many, many years ago that you've been avoiding, multiple
Save
surgeries.
the president. I don't want to get into the story.
Save the president.
Yeah, or as a basketball injury, you get to decide. But I'm doing this replacement. They tell you all the great stuff on the front side. You're going to be more mobile. You're going to have your life back, right? My doctor said to me, he said, you're going to hate the first 3 months, but then you're going to love afterwards.
The rest of your life.
Yes, basically. I don't know if I agree with him about the timing of that, but the first 3 weeks, that's what he said. Learning that.
He said the first 3 weeks you're going to hate, and then you're going to start loving it?
Yes.
Why are you still asking for painkillers?
You need to have patience.
Get over it,
Chris.
man.
So as we're talking about
soft.
this, and we got through this process, and I'm going to physical therapy, there was an urgency on the physical therapist's part of saying, hey, we got to get this sucker bent. We got to get it moving, because if you don't, it will get stuck there, and that will be the rest of your life.
Oh,
Right. So
Look at the look on his
I go to physical therapy today, and they're saying 130 degrees. That's the goal. Today I hit 120 degrees in my knee bend today, which is pretty good, where I should be at this point. But
they said the goal was 130.
130.
You didn't make it. You failed.
There's a time I'm being patient with the process, right?
They said 3 weeks. You'll be happy.
Oh my gosh! Don't give Roger any information. So I'm on the table. I'm doing these bends, and she's like, "Okay, I'm going to start pushing." And she's grabs your leg and just starts pushing it cranking it as far as she can. And I'm yelling, and I'm apologizing for the yelling. And she says, I've heard worse, And so it's,
what are you yelling?
There's an expectation. There's an expectation and a reality to it. And the only way is through
it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. If you want the life you want, it's through. You can't avoid it. Boom. Done. That's it.
Wrap it up, bro.
Okay.
That was a good episode.
So hope you learned something. Expectations versus reality. We want you guys to come into this industry eyes wide open. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you. And we can't wait to see you on the next Life Insurance Academy podcast. See you then.